Hello, I'm Kirk McKenzie, an adjunct professor with the University of Cincinnati, and first off wishing all current and future students and of course alumni and faculty best to themselves and the family in this difficult, challenging, and dynamic COVID crisis time. I'll be providing a brief video that summarizes some of the work that I've been doing as a 30-year firefighter and now as a professor in next-gen technologies, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, the Internet of Things, about techniques that colleagues in startups, academics, and enterprise, along with government teams around the world, are working on that will provide students value as they go forward and look forward to building new platforms that would have the potential of providing humanitarian good and may help save lives in the future. When people call 911 or around the world their local emergency number, they have to paint a picture with words. Sometimes they can send text or images, but shouldn't we be able to do much, much more in the precious few seconds that a citizen has wherever they are when time is fleeting and lives are in the balance? In the U.S., we have 1.25 million fires each year, but there's an additional 235 million or more calls for service each year. It's about much more than fire. My colleagues at Cosumnes Fire Department recently put our recruits, our newest cadet firefighters, in virtual reality training in a synchronized manner where they could be inside the same 360 video and learn about fire behavior. We've offered to our citizenship the ability to be inside a fire engine and go for a ride and see the importance of pulling out of the way in a simple cardboard viewer. Yeah, I knew I had it here. They could, and you can, scan the QR code and it'll take you straight to the 360 video. You could put the phone, that is, into a split screen, put it inside a box like this, and go for a ride in the fire engine. There's a little more on the story here.
Could have life or death consequences.
A local fire department is experimenting with virtual reality, and it hopes the technology could eventually give us a 360-degree live picture inside a burning building.
New tonight, CBS 13's George Warren shows us how it works.
This is the shot.
The Cosumnes Fire Department's move toward the stunning realism of virtual reality.
So there's the driver.
Begins with baby steps.
This was a very close call.
The department produced this public service announcement in 360-degree video, and you can watch it on a cardboard viewer.
By turning your attention to the passenger window right now, we will show you what happens if you follow us too closely.
Some estimates would say that if we could save a minute on response times across the country, it'd be the equivalent to 10,000 lives.
In high-rise fires,
The next step might be to train firefighters with virtual reality, using a system like this one provided by a British firm.
So I'm looking at the smoke detector to see if it had been tampered with.
The ultimate goal might be to use virtual reality in live firefighting. Imagine in the darkness and confusion of a fire, a first responder is wearing a pair of these glasses, and instantly everybody back at the truck, back at the station, can see what he or she is seeing. It's hard not to draw comparisons to augmented reality video games.
The gamification of life-saving technology.
So puff smoke it out.
What if the game could actually save lives?
Pretty fascinating. And as we mentioned, the fire department is moving into virtual reality gradually, beginning with public service announcements.
Now, the department will be handing out hundreds of virtual reality cardboard viewers to provide a true immersive experience.
one of the other areas that teams are working in is a mixed reality incident command system, an immersive system where new first responders, law enforcement, medical, and firefighter personnel can see what it might be like to take care of a multi-casualty incident or an incident involving an aircraft or active shooter incidents. And of course, veteran personnel need to continue to train in systems like this to help with incident command readiness. We'll talk about some of the work other universities are doing, other professors who are working in mixed reality and immersive training for warfighters and firefighters. We'll look at fire research groups at the University of California, Berkeley, and Davis. We'll talk about how will students of the future, or maybe students this year who may still be unable to attend the brick and mortar university, how might a student attend courses in a 3D environment as their own avatar, and they can be present for lectures and something more advanced than video conferencing. We'll look at what's the future of enterprise meetups. HHP Berlin is looking to do what couldn't have been done until recently, when the 200,000 firefighters that were expected to attend are unable to attend because of shutdowns and involving COVID. We'll look at one of the most promising things is artificial intelligence. We'll look at the work that I did with partners at Cosumnes Fire, the Department of Homeland Security, and NASA JPL, working on a system called Audrey. Audrey is an AI program to help first responders. Hear a little more on the story. First, with a video of inside a simulated children's nursery with regular fuels. Paper and a wicker basket were lit on fire, and all the wiring systems there were connected to infrared sensors, thermocouples, and radiometers, and measured the heat flux, the radiant energy, the temperature throughout the fire, and were able to teach Audrey a lot about fire behavior that the scientists at JPL put into the artificial intelligence program. In the end, it was more than 1,800 degrees at the floor in this room in less than 2 minutes. We hope it'll inspire some students to check their smoke detectors. Here's a little more on it.
Audrey today runs on some of the most powerful computers in the world. But as computers develop and Audrey becomes more optimized, this is going to move down closer and closer to the edge of where people interact with technology. First of all, it's going to be perhaps on the fire engines themselves and the vehicles. Then it'll be on the first responders' equipment, and then perhaps for people at home, it's in their house and all around them. When first responders are attending an emergency, Audrey can be an extra set of eyes and ears with a perfect memory and the ability to see through smoke or fire, derive temperature from heat haze, and other capabilities that computers can just do better than us. Audrey can augment a first responder's spatial awareness, decision-making abilities, and make them more effective and safer in the field.
And thank you to the Department of Homeland Security for the work they did supporting NASA on that project. One of the many teams that were there that day was Quake Technologies, a computer vision solution that puts the ability for firefighters to see in complete darkness right in their line of sight. I'll talk about some of my academic colleagues at Massey University who are working in mixed physics computational fluid dynamic modeling for seeing how a fire will spread and how humans will spread in an emergency. I'll ask the students to think about ethics involving line of duty death investigations and how do we respect the fallen, their family, their colleagues, while we review in potentially new ways incidents and how they happened, and how can emerging technologies help us learn from these tragedies and help support firefighters in the future. We'll look at fires that are done in a traditional way. Live fire hot training is important work for firefighters, and yet it's with fuel that is not as volatile as plastics. Synthetic fuels give up their heat at a much faster rate. We'll mention about how startups might engage with some of the venture capital teams that we know that could help them get their businesses started. Businesses like this startup here at 3 a.m. that'll assist first responders to know where they are and incident commanders to know where they are. There's a number of teams working on tracking systems. So we'll update students on how we are moving forward as a first response industry in two-way communications into 3D communications visually. The curriculum will cover the concepts of augmented reality, where digital terrain maps can be brought into the line of sight for firefighters and 3D assets like buildings. We'll look at how maybe we'll replace the typical mouse and a desktop computer with computing in the line of sight, and we'll use our eyes for tracking just like a mouse. There's so much that can be done with this technology, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of this and some of the other teams with the students. Teams like Techno Silva, who does mapping of wildfires. We're just about into fire season already in North America, and well, the Northern Hemisphere in total. We'll show new emerging technologies that should assist the students as they go forward in their education and inspire them to see what might they become interested in. Things like the option of augmented reality in real time. What if incident commanders could use fire modeling while a scene was actually happening? It's not done yet, but we're certainly closer than we've been as an industry, and now we can imagine it and start doing it in planned events, maybe soon in a not so planned event. What about structured light sensing, where we could 3D map the world to help teach children about fire and life safety? Students will learn about the cutting edge opportunities that come with the ability to 3D map one's home or an industrial facility. How might we build together a platform where first responders are enabled with the 3D information of a building during an emergency, much more effective than a simple 2D diagram? My long-term view is something of a bit of a gaming application that everyone might have on their phone, something we call 911 Go. Started at Casuma's Fire Department, where I still look forward to maybe bringing new students to help build out these ideas. What if everyone had on their phone the ability to escape harm in a theater, a school, whether it's a flood, fire, earthquake, or other natural or man-made disaster? What if they had a 3D asset that could guide them in an emergency out of the building, even in darkness? We'll look at some of the funding mechanisms and challenges being produced by federal agencies like the National Institute of Standards and Technology under the Department of Commerce, and imagine how the future is getting all that closer all the time. And of course, I'll give mention to some of the different teams I've worked with. This is 50 of maybe more than 100 teams around the world I've had a chance to work with on a variety of projects. I've had much donated to the fire department, and we're grateful to a number of enterprise teams. And we'll study some of the work from the National Institute of Standards and Technology and NFPA on the work they did for the Smart Firefighting Roadmap, and look at other written material and make it as interactive as possible to help those we've never met. In the end, thank you for watching the video. Please reach out to me via email or go straight to the registrar's office if you'd like to enroll in the course. Thank you so much.